Hello again. Today I thought I'd make you a video about glutathione. Last time out I covered melatonin, which we'll put about here so you can click on it. But the two of them work together and we're going to talk about how they work together as well. Glutathione is the second biggest antioxidant we make in the body. It's often called the master antioxidant, although I think that title really goes to melatonin. It's made from three different amino acids: glycine, glutamine, and cysteine. And cysteine is a sulfur-containing amino acid, and so is glutathione. And sulfur is a very important part of it. Now, some people will take N-acetylcysteine, which is technically a drug that you can get from the chemist. And this is an interesting point because they've done research where they've added glycine and glutamine to people's diets, and it hasn't really made a great difference. But cysteine does. As soon as you start adding more cysteine to the diet, or NAC, you actually get more glutathione. So that's probably the main benefit of NAC in my book. Now, glutathione is actually in all cells. It's in your bloodstream, it's in your brain, where actually we know low levels of glutathione in the brain can cause depression and mood swings and so on. We know it's in the liver. It's actually very large amounts in the liver. And we know its basic job is to neutralize free radicals and reactive oxygen species in the cells of the body. It even deals with heavy metals if you have those in the body. Now, what happens is it works in combination with melatonin. And melatonin, as I told you last time, everybody thinks that it's made in the pineal gland while you sleep. Yes, you do make melatonin while you sleep. And would you believe sleep actually prompts more glutathione to be made? But you make about 100 times more melatonin during the day. And as I explained last time, this is really important because it explains melatonin's qualities, really. And so on the darkest day over Britain or anywhere, the infrared end of the sunlight comes through the clouds, and the infrared end's 52%, and it hits your mitochondria. Now, the mitochondria are the things in your cells that turn out the pollution, the reactive oxygen species, and so on. And so they're turning out the pollution, but they actually make their own cleanup system. So when the infrared end of sunlight hits the mitochondria, and you can have up to 1,000 in a cell, they actually make melatonin. And melatonin is this huge antioxidant and has lots of other benefits. Melatonin starts the cleanup process, but it's also the organizer. And what does it do? It actually can prompt the production of glutathione in the body, providing the raw materials are there. So this is how it all happens and how it cleans up your cells, melatonin plus glutathione. But most importantly, glutathione has other jobs. So, for example, it preserves your telomeres. What are your telomeres? Well, think of your DNA as a shoelace. And at the end, you remember you used to get pieces of plastic holding your shoelace in place. Well, that's what telomeres are. They're your DNA strand. And at either end of the DNA, you've got telomeres holding it in place. And they shorten as we get older. And this is one of the aspects that glutathione does. It keeps your telomeres long and helps us with aging, anti-aging. So it arms our T cells and our immune system. It preserves aging, preserves our telomeres and stops us aging. And it reverses nerve damage. That's another thing that it can do. So that's the background to it. So melatonin and glutathione are basically the two antioxidants that work as a team. Now, how do you actually make glutathione? This is really quite important because we make it from greens, principally, things like kale, broccoli, cruciferous vegetables. And we don't eat enough greens. That's one of the basic problems. I read somewhere research about kids in New York. And at the age of 12, only 50% of kids in New York can actually name broccoli from a picture. So that's how bad it's getting. So we make glutathione from eating greens, from things like whey protein, from flaxseed, from lentils, chickpeas, those sorts of foods, and garlic and onions, anything leeks that contain sulfur. So these are all really important. So that's how we make glutathione. And it's really important that you make glutathione. Okay. What happens is as we age, we make about 10% less glutathione at the age of 40, and we make about 30% less glutathione when we hit the age of 60. And so you can see straight away what glutathione is doing. It's helping preserve us against aging. It's helping preserve us against illnesses. And the trouble is people try and regenerate glutathione. And so they try to take pills of glutathione and they take IV glutathione. As you'll hear in a minute, I don't think that's a very clever idea. You actually need to make it. It needs to be regulated in your body. That's the most important thing. So what we do know is it's not just an issue of aging. We find low glutathione in ill cancer cells. So toxic cancer cells have got low glutathione in them. We also know that toxic cells per se have got low glutathione in them. They actually power down. And when you've got low glutathione in a cell, you actually stop some of the genes working properly. So this whole powering down is something that happens when you don't have enough glutathione. So it's not just a question of clearing up the toxins or working with melatonin. Actually, glutathione is important for keeping the power up in your cells. How is glutathione damaged? Well, it's damaged by stress, alcohol, smoking, the usual suspects. It's damaged by paracetamol. It's damaged by environmental toxins and so on. So that's the basis, and poor diet. And then the important thing to understand is there's a sort of self-regulatory system on glutathione. So actually what happens is glutathione is made in two forms. It's made in GSH form. Okay, now imagine it's a battery. So GSH is a full battery. So it can go into cells and it can discharge its energy and it can discharge its cleaning power and break up the oxidative stress and so on. So it can completely transform a cell. When it's used its energy on that cell, you end up with something called GSSG. So GSH is the full working glutathione and GSSG is the rundown version. And the problem is that GSSG can be a problem. And you find even research papers on glutathione talking about glutathione as if it's one thing, and it's not, it's two things. So when GSSG builds up in a cell, it can, for example, prompt chemoresistance. So it's bad news. It can actually prompt more toxicity and it can cause more cancer to form. And so you get articles talking about how if you take glutathione, you can actually prompt cancer cells to spread and so on. Actually, it's the GSSG version that's the problem. But I wouldn't take glutathione pills per se, and I wouldn't use IV glutathione for very simple reasons. Number one, if you put more glutathione falsely into your body, first of all, your liver and your brain take their required loads out of whatever you've got in the body. They make sure they've got their fill of glutathione first. And if you overload the body, you could technically damage your liver and your brain. But secondly, if you use, let's say, infrared IV glutathione, I have one patient in America. She was at a clinic. She was using low dose chemo. And at the end of the low dose chemo, she was taking IV glutathione. That is nuts because low dose chemo requires free radicals to work. And if you use IV, you will block all those free radicals. And so by giving IV glutathione immediately after the low dose drugs, you're going to ruin any effect that the drugs actually have. So you've got to be very careful what you do. So I wouldn't take pills of glutathione. I wouldn't take IV. I would make it myself, acknowledging the fact that we make 10% less when we're 40 and 30% less when we're 60, but acknowledging the fact that most people just don't make enough glutathione in the first place. This is the big problem. So we give every cancer patient we work with, we give them green juices. Of course, kale, broccoli, celery, cucumber, these sorts of things, and wheatgrass and chlorella and so on, with water. So we actually build up the greens and we tell them to take flaxseed and onions and garlic and so on. But this is really important. So what my fear is that even taking GSH pills can prompt GSSG in the body. It can. So the rule of glutathione is not too little and not too much. That's where you need to be. So basically, eat your way through this. So in melatonin, if you want to make lots of melatonin by day, you need a strong microbiome. You need to be giving those bugs in your gut tryptophan, turkey, chicken, soy, and so on, tryptophan, or something like 5-HTP. And you will make more serotonin. Those gut bacteria will make more serotonin, and you will make melatonin by the action of infrared on your power stations. Glutathione, as I said, it's garlic, it's greens, it's flaxseed, it's onions, it's leeks and so on. It's cruciferous vegetables overall, and it's things like whey protein. So you need to make your glutathione, and you need to make sure you make it the right rate. Believe it or not, your gut bacteria will help you. Your gut bacteria make glutathione as well to work in the gut. Why? Same reason. You need some free radicals. As I said, not too little, not too much. You need some free radicals in your cells because they kill parasites and pathogens and keep your cells clean. And equally, that's what bacteria in your gut are doing when they make glutathione. They're keeping the gut clean of bad guys. So glutathione, bottom line, it does lots of jobs. It is anti-aging, it is anti-cancer, it cleans up the pollution in your cells along with melatonin, and it fights illness. So I hope I've kept that simple enough for you, and I'll see you in the next show. Thank you. If you found this information helpful, useful, please go to one of the links below and watch one of those videos on YouTube. And there, please click the like and subscribe buttons because it gets Cancer Active more awareness in the general community. Please help us. Thank you.